Welcome to the LOTUS tutorial. In this episode where I want to talk about containers and the structure of the containers on your hard drive. But at first, since I've done mostly everything to this point in LOTUS and created a tutorial to nearly all topics, please feel free to comment below if I missed something, maybe I overlooked something you're missing. But keep in mind, I'm the guy who does the map editor tutorials and the content creation regarding houses and so on. So it's not useful to post thoughts about the vehicle creation because I'm not capable of doing this. So let's start with the tutorial. This is your working directory. In fact, it's my working directory, but I want to show you how you're gonna set this up. In a tutorial prior, I had already talked about the definition of this working directory. To repeat it short, this is the content of my hard drive, and I got a extra folder for LOTUS, and this is my working directory. This has nothing to do with the installation of LOTUS on Steam, and it should be separated from Steam at all. If you create a working directory and you want to work either on a map or objects, you have to separate these two topics within two folders. So I've got a folder for my maps. In fact, I'm working on the add-on Dresden and also on the add-on Düsseldorf, and this is a test map. I want to focus on the objects which are located in this folder, and of course there's a bit more. So as we want to talk about containers today, I hope it's clear that every container has several objects in it. So before creating a new container, you have to ask yourself if it's better to put the object you are trying to import into LOTUS, if you can put it in another container which is already existing. So I've recently heard about someone who has created a new container for every object, and this is clearly not good. One concept of these containers is you don't want to create chaos. You don't want to copy your textures or other files to each folder in this working directory. For example, if you go into the splines folder, you see there is a texture which is used in several objects. This, and this object uses this texture. If I would separate these objects from each other, I also have to copy this texture to them. As I said, I'm working on two bigger projects, and I'm having the same split of containers for Düsseldorf. As you see here, I got a buildings container, I got an objects container and a splines container. So you can split these containers to have monotopic containers. I also got these split for the Dresden project. I got here the buildings container, I got the objects container, which contains the stuff that is something like street objects and so on. And I got a splines container. I won't say this is the best way to split up your containers for projects, but it's one way. You simply want to avoid having several textures copied to several containers on your hard drive, or you don't want one container for all of your objects. Doesn't matter what content it is. Hopefully you put it somewhere. This is not the case when you talk about containers. I also got some generic containers which does not have anything to do with a special city. This is something about the catenary. I got two containers because this is my own catenary container, and I excluded some poles for the catenary from this container to use it in the base content, so you can use it all. I got some street markings, I got terrain textures, I got my tram tracks, and I got the trees and so on. These are obviously containers you can use for not a specific city, but maybe for all cities. I also want to point out a fact about these folders. As you can see here, one folder leads into one container. You get one file. If you want to upload only a part of a container, this is not possible. You have to upload the whole or publish the whole container. This is also an indicator which object belongs to which container, because if you upload and publish objects you obviously don't want to upload, then you have to do something about it. So now we're going to talk about some stuff you can do within these folders, but keep in mind, and that is the main thing I guess everyone told you about content creation, do backups. Please. If you're not quite familiar with doing something within these folders, you can create chaos, you can crash these containers entirely, because it's mainly let's say in 99% of the cases you don't need to do anything within these folders, but in some cases it might be good to do some troubleshooting or something like that. Of course, and then first do backups. So after you created the backup, we go to the folder itself and we see that you got the LOB files, which contains one object. You got the X3D file you created from Blender and you import into the content tool, and you got the textures. This is the main content of this folder. You also got, this is a folder I created for myself, so you obviously don't have this folder. And you got the export folder. This is a folder every container should have. If you create a new container by creating a new folder, you put an X3D file in it, for example, and you import it and you save this new object as an LOB file. Lotus creates automatically this export folder. In some cases, this export folder is a hidden folder, so you have to explicit show this folder when you are creating something or when you are manipulating something in this folder. Keep that in mind. So if we go to this folder, we see a tons of backups and we see some more. Basically, the content of this folder is the content of the LCT files we see here. When the container gets packed, Lotus does something in the background, of course. And one thing is that Lotus creates a system, let's say, that the simulator can read, because obviously there is a difference between manipulating the settings of an object and having the object in the simulation, because the editing process has stored many more informations about the object than the only showing process, let's say. So as you can see here, every texture has an LTX file and every object has an LGE, an LOB, an LGO and an LGP file. These four files belong to each other. If you in any case want to delete an object, maybe it's not good enough, it's ugly, it's whatever, you have a reason to delete an object, you have to delete all of these four files. Because simply deleting this LOB file here doesn't delete the object. In your container, you have to also delete these four files, and then the object is completely deleted. But keep in mind, simply deleting these files is not enough, because you afterwards have to pack your container. So you want to actually renew the LCT file and the changes are saved permanently. Also, in some cases, when you maybe done something wrong with the object, let's say you imported an object and you import it twice in a row for some oddly reason. The new object gets a new content ID, but you want the old content ID back. So you can go into the backup folders. These backup folders have an LGE and LOB file. You can copy this backup into this folder again, so you have the old version. Keep in mind, that the backup 0 is always the newest backup. I saved the wall spline, this is a wall, in German called Mauer. I saved this 3 times because I got the current state and I got 2 backups. So I saved it 3 times. And this is the oldest one, this is the newest backup, and this is the current state. Last thing I want to tell you in this episode is the Lotus content description file. As you can see, it's only 12 bytes big. You can't open it, you can't manipulate it because Lotus creates this file on its own. But in the rare case, you got a team ID and you got your own ID and you created a container under the team ID, and for some odd reason you were sleeping when choosing your ID and you got your private ID. So you want to pack the container which is created with the team ID, you want to pack with your own ID. The content tool will fail at the check rights or something like that, or check editing rights window. If this is the case, you can delete this file and import the object again. Obviously, you want to delete this file when the content tool is closed. And afterwards, you can pack the container again under the team ID, because otherwise it would not be working. This implicates this file will be created once per packing. So if you delete this file, it's for a short moment completely gone. So this was it for today. If you have an idea about a topic I missed within the map tutorial or content creation tutorial, except the vehicle construction, feel free to comment down below, and I will see you next time. Bye.